Hello and welcome to the post-Shavuot edition of iTorah. As you know, we've just celebrated Shavuot this week. Shavuot is the festival in which the Torah was given on Har Sinai. Over the festival, I was asked by a number of my congregants to explain why it is that we eat milchigs, milk products, during the festival of Shavuot. As you're probably aware, Shavuot is different than other festivals. On Pesach, there is a Torah commandment to eat matzah. On Sukkot, there is a Torah commandment to eat in the sukkah or to take the lulav and etrog. Rosh Hashanah, of course, we have the shofar. Every festival has got a unique mitzvah in the Torah itself. When it comes to Shavuot, there is no mitzvah to do anything specific on Shavuot outside of the temple. True, in the temple, there were certain specific and unique sacrifices brought on Shavuot, but that was only within the temple. In terms of the Jewish home, the Jewish shuls, there are no unique mitzvot associated with the festival. Nevertheless, through the generations, it's become customary for Jews to make this festival unique by eating milk products in their homes, at least for one meal, the meal of the Shavuot morning, and also in their shuls by spreading greenery or trees around the shul. And the question arises to why we Jews have chosen these customs. Well, a number of reasons, in fact, have been given. Let's start off explaining why we have milchigs, milk products on Shavuot. An interesting explanation is based on what it says in the book of Psalms, the Tehillim, where it refers to Mount Sinai as Har Gavnunim, which literally means cheese mountain. So on this basis, it makes sense that we get a little cheesy on the festival of Shavuot. Another explanation revolves around the Hebrew word for milk, which is chalav. Chalav is chet, lamed, beit. Now, as you know, every Hebrew letter has got a numerical value. So chet equals 8, lamed equals 30, beit equals 2. This altogether makes 40, and therefore commemorates the days in which Moses went up to Mount Sinai to receive the Torah. Then there is another explanation as well, which is commonly quoted, and that is the Torah was given on the Shabbat. Everyone agrees to that. Now, on Shabbat, you're not allowed to slaughter animals. This is in distinction to Yom Tov, where if you really need to eat meat, you're allowed to slaughter an animal. But Shabbat, you're not allowed to. So, when the Torah was given, what were the Jews to eat that day? They couldn't slaughter. So they were compelled to eat milchigs, milk products, and we continue on that tradition today by eating only milk products on Shavuot. As to the reason as why we spread greenery on the synagogue, well, if you look into the Torah, you'll find that God tells Moses that no animal, no sheep, and no cattle should pasture on Mount Sinai. And the fact that God had to say this indicates that they could have pastured. In other words, that Mount Sinai was full of greenery in anticipation of receiving the Torah. So therefore, we too spread greenery around our shuls on Shavuot as well. So these two reasons are associated with the giving of the Torah on Mount Sinai. The milk, because that's all they could eat that day, or that was cheese mountain, or that Moses went up the mountain for 40 days. The greenery, because of the pasture on Mount Sinai. However, there is another reason for both these customs, which in fact joins them both together, for which we have to go back 80 years. You see, Moses was 80 years old when the Torah was given on Mount Sinai. 80 years prior to that, he was born on the 7th day of Adar. Now, he was born, Moses, at a time when Pharaoh had decreed that every Jewish male was to be killed. So his mother, in order to spare him that faith, his mother Yocheved hid him for 3 months. But after 3 months, the Torah says she could no longer hide him. And what she did, therefore, was she put him to a basket, as most of us would know, and placed him in the sea of reeds. Now, what day was this actually the end of 3 months? Well, if Moses was born on the 7th day of Adar, so after Adar comes Nisan, and then comes Iyar, and then comes Sivan. So the conclusion of the 3 months, if he was born on the 7th day of Adar, is the 6th day of Sivan, which, surprise, turns out to be the day of Shavuot, the day that the Torah was given to the Jewish people. Now, because Moses was cast into the sea of reeds, therefore, the explanation goes, we put reeds around our shul. We put vegetation around our shul to indicate this casting of Moses into the Sea of Reeds. Now, what happened to Moses once he was in the Sea of Reeds? Well, at that point, he was noticed by Bat Paro, Batya, by Pharaoh's daughter Batya, who took him out of the Sea of Reeds and decided that she wanted to protect him. She wanted to adopt him. But she needed a wet nurse. So she went to the various Egyptian wet nurses, but Moses refused to suckle from any of them. Then Miriam, who had been looking and viewing at the whole sequence of events, goes over to Pharaoh's daughter and she says, look, I know how to solve this solution. We can take this little baby that you found. You obviously know he's a Hebrew baby. And we can find a Jewish midwife for him. I think that he'll drink the milk from that Jewish midwife. So Miriam, Moses' sister, gets Pharaoh's daughter to give her the child. And she takes Moses and she gives Moses back to their mother, Yocheved. And Yocheved then gives the child her own milk. So that's the connection to milk. Moses refused to drink the milk of the Egyptians, would only drink the milk of his Jewish mother. So now we understand that the events that we do, or the customs that we do on Shavuot, the spreading of reeds or spreading of trees, and the drinking of milk, actually reflect an event which occurred 80 years prior to giving the Torah on Mount Sinai. And what's the significance of this? Well, if you look into our commentaries, the commentaries would explain that Moses, in order to relate the Torah to us, and remember, only the first two commandments were heard directly from God. The other commandments, according to our sages, were related to us through Moses. Moses had to have a peh kadosh. He had to have a holy mouth. Because it was so important for Moses to have this peh kadosh, this holy mouth, therefore, 80 years beforehand, he refused to drink the milk of the Egyptian wet nurses and only took the milk of his Jewish mother. I think the important lesson that we all take from this is that in order to ensure that in later life our children are able to appreciate the holiness of the Torah. Remember, Torah is not merely a book of logic. Torah is a book of holiness. This is one of the reasons why Torah commences with a beit and not with an aleph. Beit is a second letter. Aleph is the first letter. Why doesn't it start with the first letter of the aleph beit? So our rabbis explain that the reason it doesn't is because even before one studies Torah, one has to have this connection to God. That's the aleph. That's the first thing. It's the holiness. If we want our children to have holiness in their study of the Torah, it's important to educate them properly from the time that they're very young. Make sure they eat kosher food. Ensure that they live in a kosher environment. One can always do tshuva. Nothing stands in the way of repentance. One can always get better no matter what one has experienced in one's childhood. But parents do have the ability to make their children's passage through life easier, to make their attainment of holiness all that much more likely. So parents, remember, just in the case of Moses, it wasn't so much what happened 80 years later on, for which we commemorate milk and vegetation on Shavuot. It's because of what happened 80 years earlier. The care that was taken of Moses to only eat the right products and to be in the right environment from the time he was very young. I wish you all Shabbat Shalom on this very special Shabbat, which follows Shavuot. It's a Shabbat of Nasor, of exaltedness. And having received the Torah Mount Sinai, surely we will be exalted in our study of Torah and in the holiness which it imbues us with. Till next week.